Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and in this video we're going to be having a parameterized based route. So you can pass in an ID into a route and it's going to give you a specific piece of data. So let's get going on that right now. So in the last video I mentioned that we're going to be making detailed routes. Now these detailed routes aren't going to be anything fancy here, but it should show you how we have access to parameters in FlowRouter. So let's go ahead and head to our Sublime text here, and let's head to our routes, and let's go ahead and make a route. And this is just going to be, let's scroll down here, resolutions, and then /. Now this is the easy part, right? This gets really cool because this just shows you how nice FlowRouter is. We have access to a parameter by saying just colon, and then we can say ID. Now this value right here can be anything. This is setting the parameter in the URL to whatever you want. Now inside of our action, we have to pass in params. But now we have access to params. So for instance, we obviously don't want to be passing this about. What we actually want is we want to grab, we'll need a new resolution single wrapper or something like that. What we'll want is a resolution detail. So we can go ahead and have a new file, and we're just going to name this resolution detail.jsx. And I'm going to simply copy this about page, paste it in here. Default class, resolution, detail, extends, get rid of this set var, get rid of this stuff. And what we want here is going to be the name of the resolution. Let's just go ahead and save this as res right now because we haven't done any data stuff. We're going to be needing to use tracker react for that. Now let's head back to our routes and let's import this route. Actually, it makes more sense to import resolutions wrapper. Okay, we're going to import resolution detail from resolutions detail resolution detail.jsx. Now we can use the component resolution.detail, but what's great about this is we can pass along data directly from our parameter with access to that by params. And then this value, so params.id. So let's go ahead and actually have something where ID is equal to, and then we're gonna have brackets because you remember this is JavaScript, params.id. So now whenever we go to an individual ID, it's going to throw the param value of ID into the prop ID. Now we'll have access to that prop within resolution detail. We'll then be able to use that ID to actually display an individual one. Let's head to resolutions wrapper and grab some more code. We used tracker react, so we're going to want to import tracker react. Make sure we do. Okay, so we have our tracker react wrapped around component. Now, you'll remember that we need to subscribe to a bunch of data. Let's just actually copy and paste this entire resolutions wrapper in here. We're going to continue subscribing to all of the resolutions here. However, let's grab both of these as well. The resolutions and the component will unmount. Paste them in here. And let's go ahead and head down to this resolutions, which I'm going to change to resolution. And we're going to have resolutions.find. And inside of this find, we're going to have a bracket. Now we're going to be looking for a resolution where the underscore ID is equal to this.props.id. So let's take a look at the flow here. The flow here is going to be the route comes in with resolutions and an ID. That ID gets passed through params, then as params.id into a prop of resolution detail. Now inside of our resolution detail, we're then able to use that prop, which is this.props.id. We're able to use that in our actual Mongo query to pull in the data for a single resolution. Now you might be thinking, well, is this query really right? We're doing a find here. We could actually do a find one, and we can get rid of all this stuff. So find one, and just pass in this.props.id. Now let's come to our render and let's console.log this.resolution as a function. And I see the problem. We had this.props.id. We passed this in here. We didn't get rid of the brackets. So it's thinking this is an object, but obviously there was no toProperty value. So I'm sorry. This is resolutions.find1, and then in parentheses, this props id.fetch. Cool. We now should have access to this as console.log. However, we're not going to be able to get to this page just yet. However, I'm going to show you a good way to do so. Let's go ahead and do Control M, and we'll head to our resolutions, and let's just go ahead and grab this ID here. Now we can come to this page, do /. Now we can come to /resolutions / and then just paste in this ID. We hit enter, and hopefully everything doesn't break up. And again, we get an error. Now this error is a good one. So it's saying fetch is undefined. Now that is good. If you've ever used Mongo, you would have noticed that our resolutions.find1 is actually not returning a cursor at all. It's returning an object. So we don't need the fetch if we're finding one. So now we should come back to our page and see that this works. Our console log here outputs the correct data, which means we now have access to text. So let's come back to our page and say, instead of res here, let's cut this out, add some brackets, this.resolution.text. Get rid of this console log, save this, head back to our page. So now let's actually change this console log to just say, let res equal to this.resolution. Now we can use res in here by saying inside of brackets res.text. And we've been met with some more resistance. Now this is one that you would get regardless of what technique you were using. If you were using the get meteor data mixin, if you were using tracker react, any of this stuff, the problem here is we're using text, res.text, right? That's the big problem. We're using res.text, but at this very moment, when this component mounts and it goes to render this, res is equal to nothing. So obviously res.text is going to get you an undefined issue. Now what we can do is do some sort of a loading screen. Now a lot of these sites have like a nice little loading spinner. I don't have anything like that prepared. So let's go ahead and fix this. What we want is if res is not existing, right? So we want to say if the res is going to be equal to false here, then we want to return, and then in parentheses, we can just have a simple div that says loading. Now you could have this be a fancy loading GIF or something, or GIF, or however you want to say it. I have one of those on my site. I like the way it looks, but for this particular instance, I just need to output a div that says loading. Now what's not going to happen here is we're not going to get this res.text error anymore, because our site's going to come and it's going to read this render. It's going to say, hey, res doesn't exist, so I should return this. And since this render is a function, we only have one return in a function. It's only going to return this, and it's never even going to get here. So it's never going to see that res.text does not exist. So let's head to our site, and you can see do handstands. I didn't have to do anything. I can hit refresh as many times as you want. You can come to this route at any given point, and resolutions.thisID is now going to give us do handstands. Let's actually make this a little bit more fun here. So now let's head back to our resolutions page, and let's go ahead and just make a link inside of here. So we want to come to resolution single, and now over the text here, we just have a simple href is going to be equal to, and then inside of brackets, let's close off this a tag. I'm going to do this before I write the actual bracket here, and we can say this dot props dot resolution dot underscore ID. Okay, so it's going to give us the individual ID for the single resolution. But if you remember, our route just simply wasn't the ID, it was resolutions. So we can do this a couple of ways. Since this is just straight JavaScript, we could have a string that says resolutions / like this. Actually, it's going to need another / here. And we could plus this dot props, but let's actually check out a way you can do it with the new ES6 syntax. We can actually have this in here all in one actual string by having the backtick character, which is in the top left hand side of your keyboard next to the character 1. Looks like that. And we can have one of those at the end. So instead of a single quote or a double quote, we can use this tick right here. Now, where we want our actual variable, we can wrap this in a $, bracket, and then closing bracket. So this is the new string interpolation syntax in JavaScript. It allows us to use this type of tick to say, hey, there's variables in the string. Identify the variables by this, okay? So let's save that. And you can now see we have some really ugly links. And if we hover over them, you can see that we have /resolutions.id. Let's go ahead and just click on one of these, dance in the office. You can see dance in the office. We can go back, do yoga, go back. So as you can see, we have our resolutions and there's some super ugly links. I'm gonna get rid of the links in a minute just because we don't need them, but I just wanted to show this for the routing. And what we can do is we can click on one of these like do yoga, and here we are, do yoga. Let's go back, resolutions, dance in office. Cool. Now this is great. I mean, even the back button works if you want it to work, right? Dance in the office, all this stuff. And look how lightning fast this is. Obviously, this isn't having to load a ton of stuff, but it's not really having to load a whole page at all. It's really just lightning fast, right? And what's great about this is we can accomplish the same stuff with server-side rendering. Now I'm going to show you that in a video that's only available for download on Level Up Tutorials or if you're a Level Up Pro, but the server-side rendering stuff is really cool with React and Meteor. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. We now have parameterized based links. Now I'm going to delete this link because it's ugly, but I'll just do that after I save the code off for the code examples. So the next video gets started, we won't have this link in here, but you can check this out to see how it's going to work. So we have certainly come a long way, and this site's looking great, to be honest. It's looking and functioning really well. We've done parameterized based routing that actually grab content from a Meteor database. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. If you want to help support the creation of these free videos, head to store.leveluptutorials.com and purchase this series along with any other series you'd like to help support the creation of these free videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.